Hello again. This is video lesson 2.6, estimating with percents. So this is your topic that we'll be working with. Put that on your notes. And lesson 2.6 is what you also need on your notes. Page 137 is the beginning of lesson 6. It's got that information for you there. If you want to preview the lesson, you can look at page 137 as well. Otherwise, go on to page 138 after your notes are set up. They should look something like this to start with. Two-column Cornell style notes. California Math, page 138, 139 is what you're referencing. And the topic is estimating with percents. So let me zoom in a little bit right here. So what can I tell you about estimating the percents of numbers? Estimating means it's not exact. Estimating is going to find a reasonable solution. That's pretty darn big, but I think that's okay. Estimating is going to provide a reasonable solution to many real-world problems. This is what most people do in real life when they're in the store trying to figure out what 30% off of that, what do I want to buy? Bag of chips is. If the chips is $2.99, I'm gonna estimate. I'm not gonna do it exactly there in the store to see if it's a better deal. So you need to, before I get into what they have their lessons. This is, again, I will emphasize you starting to memorize, and you might want to write this on your notes. Also, the major, most common, I guess I would say easy to work with fractions. So 1/2 is the same as 0.5, so it is the same as 50%. 1/5, we'll go in order. 1/3 is also very common. 33%. I guess I'm not going in order, am I? Well, I guess I am. 1/4 is the same as 25%. 1/5 is the same as 20%. And if you can memorize those five, you will be in really good shape for, I don't know, probably 80% of the math work that you're going to be getting. So jot those down in your notes, and I'll also talk a little bit more about those as we go along. So take a look at example number 1. Estimate 47% of 692. So what you're doing is you're estimating. You're not exactly it. And it's 47 is close to 50%. 50% is equal to 1/2. So that's the first thing you do, is get your percent close to something that you can work with, a fraction that you can work with. Next thing you do is get the number that you're working with, in this case 692, close to a number that you can work with. 700 is a lot easier to deal with than 692. Okay, and the question then becomes, when you're estimating, 1/2 of 700 is what? So if you don't know that off the top of your head, you can divide 2 by 700, and you'll get 350. Okay? So like it says right here, 1/2 means to divide by 2. So that's how that works. And here's a little visual for you. The whole thing is 700. Half of 100% is 50%. So half of 700 would be 350. So that's how you do those estimates. Get rid of some of this stuff here and go down a little bit. So this is a good example to use also. So I will do that. Estimate 60% of 27. Now, 60%, you could take it down to 50% and do that, and that would get you pretty close. But what they want you to do is 20 recognize that 60% is 3 times 20%. And if you go back and look at what I wrote up there, it says 1/5 equals 20%. So if I want to get to 60%, how many fifths would that be? That would be 3/5. Let me make sure I'm recording. Let me talking to nobody here, talking to an empty room. Yeah, I'm still recording. Okay. So 20% is 3 times 60. 1/5 is 3/5 is 3 times 1/5. So um, that's what they have here. They have taken 60% is 3/5, and then what you're going to be doing is working with 1/5 of that. I'll get to that in a second. So first deal with the percent that you're going to be dealing with, and get it to something that's easy to work with. Next, take the number 27, especially since we are dealing with a fraction with the 5 on the bottom. If we can round that to 25, that will be easy to deal with. So you take 1/5 of 25, which means 25 divided by 5, right? Just doing that, it could look like this, 25 over 5 equals 5. Writing right on the top of everything. But they didn't want 1/5 of 25. They wanted 3/5 of 25. So then you multiply the 3 times 5 to get there. So that's how they got the 15. Okay. Estimating is not something that's super straightforward. You have to use your brain. You have to think about how things are related to each other, and it's not one of those things where you can turn your brain off like I've talked about in the past and just follow the rules. You have to kind of see what's going on around you and work that. So let's see, where's the got it? Oh, they're there. Estimate each percent. So take a look at those. Pause the video and see what you can do. All right, let's see how you did. So, and I like this because they give you a little bit more explanation than just the answer. So 48% of 78 is about 40. 18% of 42 is about 8. 73% of 41 is about 40. I don't want to take up all your time and do all of those, but let's take a look at the first one. So 48% is close to 50%, which is close to 1/2. 78 is close to 80, which is pretty darn easy to work with. So 1/2, I'll just write that a little bit better. 78 is close to 80. So 1/2 of 80 is 40. A lot easier than multiplying 0.48 times 78 or 76. So that's how they got that. Let's look at the next one. See if I can get this one on the first try too. 18% is close to 20%, which is close to 1/5, or is 1/5, equivalent to 1/5. 42, we want to get it to a number that's divisible by 5. So 40, we can get it to, or 42, we can get it to 40. 1/5 of 40 is 8, because 40 divided by 5 is 8, in case you didn't get that. And there's that answer right there. So hopefully those are working out for you. We'll work on it tomorrow in class if it is not. Get caught up on the notes for that. I'm going to show you one other method for doing this. So get caught up on your notes, draw a nice big line, and then go to the next page. I think they give you some more examples at the top of the next page. Up here. Yeah, there's another example there. Also, this is something that I need to add to my notes, and you can add yours. This little wavy symbol, that means approximately. It means it is about. So, because 715 is about 700. So if you see that sign, it means it's around that. It's not exactly that. Let's get down to business down here. Estimating using the rate per 100. This is useful when you have a number that you're working with that is close to 100. So draw a line. The next section is called estimating using the rate per 100, and this one I can tell you pretty darn quickly. So 17% of 198. 17% means 17 out of 100. 198 is close to 200, right? So if we have two groups of 17 out of 100 to get to 200, that would be 17 times 2. How many hundreds do I have? I have two hundreds, so 17 times 2, or they actually added it, but I would prefer to multiply it because it could be more than that is 34. So 17% of 198 is about 34. And if you had 800, you would multiply the 17 times 8 right here, 900, and so on. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense to you. Get caught up on your notes. I have also provided the notes for you. Go back to those really quickly. I also put those common percents that I talked about right here. You can add those in, and then estimating the percent of a number, and then estimating using the rate per 100. All right. Hopefully you got all that, and I will see you tomorrow.